7. The Mavs win. That'd be the first time that ever happened. All 7 games going to the road team. There it is. And there's Kawhi. And Luka, he came out fiery. Three-pointer goes. He was 5 of 11. That's a good percentage for Luka. Step back with Rondo on him. Nobody could stop him early. He would play 45 of the 48 minutes in this game and won. That big, thick body is so effective near the hoop. 29 points in the first half. Most points in a half of a Game 7 over the last quarter of a century. Hasn't fared well in the second half, as you see there, averaging nearly 9 points less after halftime. We're tied at 81 in Game 7. Luka! No. Speed up to the other end. Leonard. In the corner, and he finishes with the slam. Kawhi efficient, 10 of 15 from the floor. Luka back in the smaller dude, one hand, and again, second half woes continue. Speed up again. 2-point lead for the Clippers. Swing it. Marcus Morris hits the 3. And here come the Clippers starting to make their move. It's 5. Morris again. 7 of 9 shooting 3. Marcus Morris really stepping up, tying Steph Curry's record for most Game 7 threes. Later, Kennard, Mann, no, Leonard. 28 points and 10 rebounds for Kawhi, 1 assist shy of a triple-double. And it's starting to slip away. And the Clippers are starting to dance. A 24-4 run to end the third. Fourth quarter, still a game though. 11-point lead, and Reggie Jackson, the Jack Show. Clippers shoot 47% from 3. Doncic trying his best. Step back 3, 46 points, second most in Game 7 history. But Leonard to Jackson, the Clippers set a Game 7 record with 23 pointers made. They win 126-111. They move on to play the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, Rambo, let's get it. Eastside shit, man, you already know how the fuck we rockin'. Ay,
King Medic, turn me up.
Hey, nigga been talking my shorty, I saw it, I called it my partner, he called him a target. I'm all in the mall and I'm ballin' like Jordan, I'm drilling designer, so pardon my walking. We got some 40s on 40s, we got some 30s on 30s, you heard it, I'm bossing. I hit the curve when I park it, I'm with some hitters, so if I get nervous, I off it. We got designer for real, I'm in my feelings, so I don't give a fuck how you feel. She wanna fuck on a pill, she wanna fuck on a dome. Baby, you know what I'm on, I'm riding around with a whole lot of pressure. Feeling like Jordan when he got some second. Baby, you know what I'm ripping, baby, you know when I focus, you know it get hectic. Baby, you know how I get down, baby, come sit down, come and get dick down. I'm with your bitch now, she with the shit now. I'm on the cup, it's super lit now, he in the tuck. Boy, don't get hit now, weighing you up, dressing you up. 4-5 choppers, messing you up. Hey, nigga, I feel like the GOAT. Hey, these niggas, they do the most. Damn, I get a pat for my bro, I flip it and
It's FYF Sportsman, it's Lamont. We are back with another podcast video. And tonight we had some great games. And we had an epic Game 7. Clippers, Mavericks rematch of last year's first round series. Dallas Mavericks looking to avenge that first round loss that they took to the Clippers last year. This is a very odd series too. You're talking about a Dallas team that came into Los Angeles the first 2 games, stole the first 2 games. Everybody thought the Mavericks would cruise to an easy series win, but the Clippers came right back, won both games in Dallas to tie the series up. Luka came back with an epic Game 5 performance, pushes them up 3-2. But then we see Kawhi Leonard in Game 6 come out and put on a masterful performance, dropping 45 points to even the series. Everything came down to this Game 7 in LA. And man, it actually was a great game. It gave us a little bit of everything that we expected. Before we get started with today's game, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to the video if you haven't done so already. Some of you guys are saying that you aren't getting the notifications. If you're not getting the notifications, that's okay. Just go into the description of this video. Follow us on Twitter. follow us on Instagram, or join the Discord. When we drop videos or when we go live, we send notifications out on all of those social media platforms. So ultimately, whether you're getting the notifications on YouTube or whether you're getting them on outside of YouTube, we need to make sure that you guys are getting notifications whenever we're going live or dropping videos on YouTube. But today, again, we had a great game, Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. Another great performance by Kawhi Leonard and another great performance by Paul George. Ultimately, this was a game where once again early on it looked like Luka Doncic was going to take over, but I think the Clippers did a great job of stifling everyone else. And I think at the end of the day, when the Dallas Mavericks go back to the drawing board to look at what cost them this game 7, they're going to have to look at Kristaps Porzingis, a guy who I felt just definitely didn't show up and give Luka Doncic the help that he needed to really sustain and beat these two superstars in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But we're going to go ahead and go over to the drawing board because I'm not going to go through all of the highlights of this game. You guys already watched it. But what I do want to focus in on is where I feel the Dallas Mavericks went wrong. I think they had a great strategy in the first 4 games of this series. And then as the series unfolded, we ultimately saw this Clipper team start to figure out this Dallas Maverick defense. The Dallas Mavericks, they ended up this year being a top 10 defense, so they were pretty stout. They were pretty consistent. When you look at some of the players that they were throwing at Kawhi Leonard, they threw a different combination of bigs out, whether it was Boban, whether it was Dwight Powell, all these others, Willie Cauley-Stein. They threw a combination of length, size, and athleticism at Kawhi Leonard, and it did rattle him to a certain degree. Kawhi Leonard still got his points, but they found a way to make it difficult at times. He would explode one quarter and drop 17, but then he would go the next 2 quarters hardly scoring. And that's what you kind of want to do with a guy like Kawhi Leonard. You want to find ways to stifle him so he's not just demolishing you from the first quarter all the way to the fourth quarter. You got to be able to shut him down to some degree. And they actually did that to a certain degree until the Los Angeles Clippers started to communicate. And especially on the offensive end, we see how they broke down this zone defense that the Dallas Mavericks were trying to employ. Let's go ahead and get over to the drawing board so we can break this down for you guys and get a better understanding of how the Los Angeles Clippers ultimately came together as a team, created more ball movement. Tyronn Lue started using more players on his bench, and it ultimately activated everything for this team. And the ball movement is really what broke this zone down. Let's go ahead and get to the drawing board. All right, we have it right here. We see Kawhi Leonard pushing it in transition. They really wanted to work the semi-transition, speed it up so they couldn't set this zone up effectively. And we see all eyes are on Kawhi Leonard. But what happens right there, nobody's watching Terrence Mann. Everybody's ball watching. Everybody overloads to the ball, which can happen in a zone. All right, if everybody panics and you're not communicating, 2 good ball reversals, they get an open 3. This is one of the ways where they burst this game open, but it took playing as a team. Another thing that goes wrong when you play a zone like this, all right, when you drive at a zone, all right, what goes wrong? Everybody ball watches and nobody's there. Nobody's there to box out. And we see Kawhi Leonard dive right in, get a layup, and extend the lead. Hey, and there you have it right there. This was a game that it was close until the end of that third quarter when I think the Clippers were able to kind of figure that zone out, get some timely buckets, and give themselves enough of a cushion going into the fourth quarter where they could cruise to victory. Clippers win this one, Game 7, 126-111. Kristaps Porzingis for the Dallas Mavericks ended the game with 16 points, 11 rebounds. Dorian Finney-Smith, who did a great job defensively all series on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, 18 points and 10 rebounds. He made a lot of big threes early on that kept Dallas in this matchup. Boban Marjanovic, 14 points, 10 rebounds. I like what Carlisle did, bringing him in, going big when the Clippers went small. Ultimately, it wasn't enough because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard started to attack Boban, and they put him in certain pick and roll situations that he couldn't defend. Tim Hardaway Jr., one of the players that really helped this team win games 1 and 2. Didn't show up today. 11 points, 3 rebounds. They really needed his scoring today. Jalen Brunson, a guy that I think is going to get paid this offseason. Kind of a disappointing outing in this one. 2 points, 4 rebounds. They really needed that additional scoring off the bench to supplement what Luka Doncic was doing, because we all know that Luka Doncic showed up. Luka Doncic showed up big time with 46 points, 14 assists, and 7 rebounds. And just to kind of give everybody a glimpse of what this man is doing, look, this man had in a historic playoff series, all right, in a game 7, a young player like this, under 22 years old, in a game 7, dropped 46 points. All right. That's tied for the 3rd most points in a game 7 all time. Just think about that right there. When you're talking about a young point guard in Luka Doncic, 35.7 points per game on the series is the most by a player under 22 years old. And again, with 35 points per game and 10 assists per game in the playoffs, he's only second all-time to a Russell Westbrook. I mean, Luka Doncic had a historic playoff series. I know they got bounced in the first round. I mean, I would have loved to see this team go into the second round and continue to play, but they ran into a buzzsaw. The Clippers were able to figure it out. They actually came together, played defense surprisingly well to round out that series. It looked much different from what we saw in games 1 and 2. That was one of my biggest question marks with this team. Could they figure it out on defense? Could they consistently give a night in and night out effort on the defensive end the same way they give that same effort and intensity on the offensive end? And we saw that team do that. I like what Tyronn Lue did, bringing back Luke Kennard into the rotation. Terrence Mann stepped up defensively. We saw Paul George and Kawhi Leonard both get more vocal on the defensive end, and we saw how important those things affected that defense. So they actually improved in that aspect. But for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard finishes the game with 28, 10, and 9, close to a triple-double. Very solid game. Morris, big-time threes again. And we saw the ball movement there that helped Morris get a lot of shots. They made a concerted effort to drive at this zone that Dallas was running, kick the ball, be willing passers, and Morris was ready to shoot. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Nicholas Batum, solid game, 11 points, 7 rebounds. Paul George, 22 points, 10 assists. Reggie Jackson's been solid all series. This is a guy that was relegated to the bench almost last year. Hardly got any playing time throughout the playoffs. He comes up big as the Clippers decided to bench Pat Beverly. They bring in Reggie Jackson for his scoring. He comes up big in this one with 15 points. Terrence Mann, 13 important points. And Luke Kennard, a guy, remember what I said, a guy that surprised everybody, didn't play all series. He came in late in this game and made some timely buckets. 11 points in 15 minutes. I mean, I know it's not a lot of minutes, but when you're talking about a guy like Luke Kennard who just went cold, wasn't even on anybody's radar, probably wasn't even in the scouting report, for him to come in and give 11 points. I mean, you can say that probably, along with Terrence Mann's points off the bench, that kind of shifted the momentum in this series with those two guys. So again, salute to the Clippers for stepping up, or really coming together as a unit, finding a way to beat out this Dallas Maverick team. This Dallas Maverick team is going to have a lot of promise going into the future. They got some question marks with regards to what they're going to do with Kristaps Porzingis, because Kristaps Porzingis I don't know if it's the offense. I don't know if he's disengaged, but something wasn't right within that offense where Kristaps Porzingis just wasn't getting the shots and looks that we know he can make and take, like we saw in New York when he had big games out there. So, again, this roster has a lot of promise. Mark Cuban is doing a lot of great things over there. So hopefully they can get it together, maybe bolster this roster and get back to it next season. But until then, it's the Clippers moving on to the next round. And they have a tough matchup themselves. They have a tough matchup coming up in the next round. But again, like I said before, it only gets easier from here. The Mavericks got them battle tested. Will they be able to take this into the second round and hopefully continue with the consistency on the defensive end, continue with the ball movement and the unselfish offense? And I can see this team maybe finding a way to get to the Western Conference Finals. But again, that's a long way from now. A lot of games to be played right now. We just got to salute the Clippers for a big time win. Again, 126 to 111. The Los Angeles Clippers take down the Dallas Mavericks. Now, you guys, let me know in the comments, what do you guys think about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George's performance this series? A lot was on their shoulders. I think they felt the pressure, especially when they lost games 1 and 2. They felt the pressure, even Tyronn Lue. Like, what is the future of this core group if they don't get out of the first round? Luckily, they did. So I think that took a heavy burden off their shoulders. I think we're going to see a more consistent Clipper team in the second round, because I think they just needed to get out that first round, get over that hump of dealing with being down in the series, dealing with a lot of adversity. They are battle tested, and Kawhi Leonard, something that we didn't see from him last year is we saw, especially in that game 6, we saw him turn into the younger, more spry, the more aggressive Kawhi Leonard, where in that fourth quarter, in that game 6, he was literally taking and making all of the big shots to help push that team in a tough game in Dallas, where Dallas was really looking to eliminate this team. This is a game where Dallas really controlled this game for most of the game, and Kawhi Leonard just took grasp of the game as a superstar and said, you know what, we're not going home. Just like he said in that post-game conference in game 6, we're not going home. And he himself propelled that team to a game 7. So I want to see more of that going into the next round. It's just going to make for better basketball. But again, you guys in the comments, let me know what you think about the LA Clippers. What are your thoughts? How far can they go with this roster? Do you think bringing Luke Kennard back into the rotation was big for them? Are they ultimately going to start playing Boogie Cousins? They have a lot of weapons on that bench. They have a lot of weapons on that bench that we never got to see. You still got Rondo. They still got Yogi Ferrell, who's a very solid guard. You still got Reggie Jackson. They still got Pat Beverly. They still got a lot of very resourceful players that we've seen excel in the playoffs to a certain degree. Can't wait to see the next round. Western Conference is going to be crazy, but they're back at it Tuesday. They're going to be back at it Tuesday playing the Utah Jazz. So again, we're in for some good basketball. LA Clippers, Utah Jazz. I think that game starts Tuesday, and we'll definitely be here to break that game down after it happens. But hey, it's been a great podcast episode, man. Salute to the Clippers again for stepping up, making a big time comeback in this series. Again, a historic series in itself. Luka was historic. Kawhi Leonard was historic. The series itself was historic. The Dallas Mavericks didn't win a home game. They couldn't win a home game, but they won all the road games. It's just one of the weirdest series that I've ever seen. The flow of it was crazy, but we saw superstars be superstars in this series, and that's what NBA basketball is all about. But hey, again, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. We're going to be back with more sports and news later. We have a lot to come. We're going to be going live multiple times this week. So again, go to the description of the video. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, even follow our Discord. Make sure you do those things. Give us a 5-star review. The link to that is also going to be in the description of the video. And again, we need you guys to stay actively engaged with this channel as we start transitioning into a number of other things with this channel. So again, we're going to be having more breaking news, more podcasts, more special guests. We got some interviews with some NBA players coming up. And you guys don't want to miss that as well. So as FYF Sportsman, it's been a great podcast episode. We'll be back with more sports and news later. But until then, it's FYF Sports. And we out.